But first, the head baseball coach, Mike Littlewood, back in Studio B with all of that swagger. Coach, it's good to have you back, man. It's been too long, I feel like.
Yeah, not feeling like a whole lot of swag right now. But like I said, I'm licking my wounds and trying to get on with life.
We'll get to that in just a bit. Okay, let's start with the easy questions.
Okay.
In terms of baseball scheduling, which team are you looking forward to playing in the future the most?
Well, we've got Santa Barbara coming in, I believe, next year.
Okay.
For a 3 or 4 game series. Oregon's going to come in just like Arizona did after they play Utah. UConn is coming in in the next year or so. UConn's a regional team. They had one of the best first round pitcher. I'm sure he'll get drafted in the first round. They're a really good program, and so those are some teams that we're going to Hawaii, and I think in 18. But we scheduled 2-3 years out, not like football, who it's like in 2030 we got a season. And we'll go a couple years out, but that's about it. So yeah, we're trying to put together the best possible schedule we can every single year.
Coach, I didn't know that you did your own scheduling. I thought that, I know that Coach Mendenhall and football Tom had some efforts in that as well. But how much time do you spend doing this yourself in comparison to other coaches that may get some help from the AD?
I spend very little compared to Trent Pratt, who puts our schedule together. So I'm very good at delegating that part. Trent's busy, does our scouting reports, and coaches our catchers, coaches first base, and puts a schedule together. It's almost easier for an assistant to do it because they run into all those guys recruiting, and they run into assistants. Hey, let's play each other, and okay, give me a call, and that's kind of how it starts. And then Trent will run by the schedule. We'll sit down and spend. I'll spend probably 10% of the time he does on it, but Trent does most of the scheduling for us.
So with football and being independent, there's obviously no conference, right? And so you want to try to play the best of the best, but you also want to have that balance. Is that the same with you guys with non-conference, is trying to focus on some of the bigger guys?
Well, we know how important RPI is now after having this. If our RPI is probably 8 points higher, we get in that large just like Gonzaga did. So it's really important. And we thought we put together a really good. And it's hard to say because we scheduled 2 or 3 years out.
Yeah.
Okay, if we're going to play Oklahoma in 3 years, that's probably going to be a good team. Just like we played Kansas this year. Kansas took last in the Big 12. We went on the road and beat them in 3-game series. But part of the RPI is your opponent's record and then their opponent's, so that your opponent's record in baseball, and then you put into your record. So it's kind of tough. St. Louis was really good. They won their league 2 years ago. Samford won their league 2 years ago. And so we schedule them on the road thinking, man, if we can go win the series, our RPI is going to skyrocket. Well, we do. We schedule them, go on the road, beat them. They end up having, Samford won 30 games. They both won 30 games, but they didn't have the year that they thought they would. And so we have to just put together. We have to be careful that you don't play like we did 2 years ago, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Santa Barbara, and they're all very, very good. Yeah. And sometimes you roll the dice a little bit that way. But we want to put together a challenging schedule that's going to help our RPI. You play Niagara at home, you have to beat them. And if you beat them 4 times like we did last year, it doesn't help our RPI. Even beating Utah doesn't help our RPI because their record wasn't good and their opponent's record wasn't very good. So that was kind of a unique thing with Utah this year. So schedule a good schedule and win the games. That's the best way to do it.
That's tough, man, because you know if you're scheduling the Oklahomas and these branded schools that traditionally are good, you know that if you go and you play these schools and you win and you're competitive, then you have a chance. But you have that balance of potentially not coming out with some W's.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's the risk reward. I mean, there's a risk to putting together a challenging schedule, especially going on the road, because that's where we're going to be the first 3 weeks of the season, no matter what. But I think if you can schedule that, Gonzaga goes down and plays TCU early this year, and I believe they got them one time.
Yeah.
Even when you go on the road and lose one, that hurts you just a little bit. Even though it's TCU, and we went down and split with LSU my first year, that was huge for us because we split with them. We didn't lose 2 out of 3. Yep. And so you have to be careful. But I also think you need to go on the road and play in one of those SEC environments to kind of figure out what it's about. And so if you do get to the regional, or even in a big time series where teams come in and play us, I mean, we've got probably half the fans they do. I mean, those they're bringing out 10, 12,000 fans a night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But at least it gives you the environment, so you're not totally surprised.
Yeah, not shocked.
And you realize, okay, this is a regional team. this is where I need to be. You know, not just beating Utah Valley and Niagara all the time. And although Utah Valley had an incredible season, and kudos to those guys, so did Utah. Hey, it's hard to say, but, man, those guys did a great job at the end of the year.
Interesting that you win series against both of those teams who both went to regionals because of auto bids, winning their conferences in the Pac-12 and WAC respectively, but BYU doesn't get to a regional. 37-17, Mike Littlewood with us in Studio B, and let's take a look back at what I feel like as a fan, I know a lot of people feel like, was overall, you step back, it was a great season. 20 games over 500, but an obviously disappointing ending. So how are you feeling now? I know you said you're licking your wounds. How are you feeling when you're trying to look at just the whole thing?
Well, I mean, it's a step in the right direction. I think every week we were nationally relevant with every publication. We were ranked as high as 16th. I think you can have, I know you can have a successful season and have a disappointing ending, and I think that's what we did. It seems like we were just skyrocketed at first, had a few pitching injuries that really, really hurt us. I mean, people don't understand how important losing 4 pitchers is to a baseball team. We lose number 2. We lose number 2, Kendall Moats, the first week of the season. We lose Maverick after 6, I mean, he's 6-2 or something like that. Lose him halfway through the season. We lose Connor Williams. We lose Hayden Rogers. That's huge. I mean, that's like losing maybe your power forward and your 6th man in a you know, or maybe even 2 starters in a basketball team. But we battled, finished 14-14, and I think maybe the ignorant outside guy looking in, well, what's wrong? What happened? You know, well, we play in a good league.
Yeah, that's me right there.
we play in a good league, and we were really going into every single series with 1 starting pitcher that we could really count on. So, successful season, yeah, it really was. Did we meet our goal of making a regional? No, and that's what makes it disappointing. And it's kind of like you have a junior high girlfriend, you know, 6th grade, you think you're holding hands all the time or whatever, and you break up and you think it's the end of the world. That's how I felt the last couple weeks. Just you wake up and go, did this really happen? I need to, you know, but I need to move on. And now it's recruiting and different things in the summer, and you just kind of get on with life.
Now, I only laugh when you say 4 injured pitchers because there is some short-sightedness out there of people that don't understand the whole story. And it's like, how do you expect them to recover after losing not 1, but 4?
Yeah,
4 significant contributors.
Yeah. I'm one of those. I mean, is it something where it's like a freak accident where like Jamal and Taysom and kind of everybody was getting injured that year, or is this something where you can go back next year and say, okay, I need 20 more pitchers to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Well, it'd be nice to have 20 good pitchers. That we started the season with 16 pitchers on our roster, and through attrition, and it happens. Connor Williams, and we didn't even mention Jordan Wood, who was out for 4 weeks. He's a 90-92 guy who helped us win a couple games early out of the pen. Connor and Jordan both had forearm strains, and it might be a return missionary. They're both hard-throwing return missionaries. Hayden Rogers has an oblique strain that he throws maybe 15 pitches against San Francisco, and Kendall Moats has 4 bone chips taken out of his elbow. And I mean, it just Maverick had stem cell and PRP to try to get back, just a slight UCL tear, and so he'll start throwing. So if you look at some of the guys we have coming back, we may not have Mike Rucker as that number 1 guy who's going to win every single game he pitches, which is kind of important, but we'll have much more depth if we can keep everybody healthy, and that's just one of the things that every team goes through. And you know, you look at Utah, they have the Rose kid and Dallas Carroll and their big lefty that started against us. They didn't miss 1 start. Their 3 main pitchers didn't miss a start.
Makes a difference.
And man, they put it together at the end of the season, and they were a different team at the end of the season with those guys. Starting pitching is the most important thing. It's like a quarterback. It's like your point guard or center. I mean, it's just the most important thing on a baseball team.
Staying healthy, moving forward. BYU coach Mike Littlewood with us, looking forward to taking that next step and getting to a regional. And speaking of that, you lose 2 key contributors in terms of seniors with Eric Urey and Hayden Nielsen at shortstop, and Mike Rucker most likely to the Major League Baseball draft. But then Kyle Dean tweets this the day after BYU doesn't get into a regional. And I am paraphrasing here. I'm going to help BYU go to a regional. You can take that to the bank. What did you think when you first saw or heard about that tweet from a guy like Kyle Dean?
I love it. I mean, I love the way Kyle goes about things, and Kyle will help us. You know, I wish he would have Keaton Kringle came in and played incredibly well.
He was
I mean,
the freshman of the year.
Freshman of the year, going to be an All-American. But that doesn't mean Keaton couldn't have gone to another place and Kyle DH or Keaton DH and put Kyle in the outfield. We need Kyle Dean in our lineup to be the best team we possibly can be. And I just love the confidence because I know he knows that we've got that potential here. We might be better at the plate next year, better offensively. It's tough to lose. Brennan Lund's going to be gone. That's a key. You know, he'll get drafted Thursday or Friday. Mike Rucker's probably going to be gone as well. And we lose Yuri and Hayden Nielsen. Those are our two key seniors. But we feel really good about the guys we have coming in. We could lose 3 high school seniors to the draft: Pete Nielsen, DC Clausen, and Peyton Henry. So
3.
We could lose 3 to the draft. We're keeping our fingers crossed that they're putting value on themselves. But DC Clausen could be, they're telling him 2nd or 3rd rounder. Peyton Henry could be as high as a 3rd rounder.
Do you guys help out with that, with the evaluation?
Well, we'll just,
what you do
if they call us, we'll help them a little bit. But you know, as a high school kid, it's all about bonus. You don't want to get a bonus and have to live off your bonus. You want to get a bonus and put it away, and that's your retirement, because everybody else in life is starting to build their careers from age 20 to 25 or 30, and you're playing baseball making $8,000 a year. So it's a pretty tough life. It's not as glamorous as people think, but it's a pretty cool thing to do.
But is there rules against you reaching out to them and kind of?
No.
I mean, they've signed, so you're good, right?
Yeah, they've signed with us, and so we're fine if their parents have called and they'll call me. I've got a different perspective because in 2010 I went through that. We went through that as a family with Marcus, who was drafted in the 2nd round, I think 62nd or 67th overall pick, and so we've been right in the middle of it from that perspective. And so, you know, if those families want help that way, we know exactly what it is. And you know, after the fact, it's like, man, we maybe should have pushed for a little bit of more money and that bonus. And Marcus's bonus is out there, and people can look it up. He got a lot of money. But he lives like a poor college student right now. I don't have any money. And he knows that. I wish everybody could call Marcus and go, hey, has it been an easy life these last 5 years? And you know, do you have a huge house and a lot of nice cars? No. So anyway, it's a unique situation in baseball. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. There you go.
Yes, I'm sensing a reality TV show for minor league baseball players. Extreme budgeting in the minors.
They would love it.
Let's finish with this. How in the world, other than recruiting and kind of keeping an eye on what former guys are doing in minor league baseball and whatnot, how do you stay busy over the summer?
Well, it's interesting. Trent Pratt's already been out recruiting. Brent Herring's in Dallas recruiting, and I'll go out next week. So we're already on the recruiting trail. And then we have four of our youth camps coming up. You know, interesting you ask. Love camps. We look at camps as like we love to do them, but man, it gets a little hot out there. But so we have 2 youth camps. One's coming up in June 20th. They fill up. Our high school camps, we have 3 in July. We have 1 youth camp July 5th, and they're 4 days. A youth camp June 20th for 4 days. I believe that's 2 Mondays. You can look at your calendar. And then we have high school, 3-day high school camps the last 2 weeks of July. But I'm out there 100% of the time. My staff's out there 100% of the time. In fact, I think we're going to tweet out on my Twitter account. I'll tweet out a code for the first 25 people that go sign up for a camp. They'll get $25 off.
Oh,
so
hey!
At Y Baseball Coach. I'll tweet that code out in the next couple hours.
Speaking of extreme budgeting,
there we go. There we go. That's probably 2% off the camp, the price of the camp. I don't really know, but there's an overnight camp. It's a great camp. We spend a lot of time, get a lot of great feedback.
Congratulations on an overall and what we view as just a great success and a step in the right direction, as you called it. And we're going to take that thing that Kyle Dean said to the bank, man. Get into a regional.
Yeah, let's do it. I love his attitude. That's the attitude we need overall as a team, and that's the culture we're trying to build.
All right, Coach. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.